Mr. Rogers scared me as a kid. I mean, freaked me right out. Here I was at a fair or a carnival or something, and I saw him in person standing and talking to another grown-up, and not on a stage or anything, just next to one of the anchors for a big top or another attraction. Looking back, he must have been doing a radio interview or something. Anyway, I was encouraged to go up and talk to him, but no. When you're 5, 6 years old, people that happen on TV aren't supposed to happen in real life. It was just too freaking weird. I didn't mind him on TV, although really I was watching him just for the trolley, which was Michael Keaton's job, by the way. Oh, and speaking of by the ways, did you know Mr. Rogers' real middle name was McFeely? Welcome to Weirdos Know by Legion of Weirdos, where you get party conversation education. I'm Christopher, your Martha Stewart of Weird, and you and I, we're the Weirdos. Today, we're talking about Fred Rogers. By the way, if you have a topic suggestion for Weirdos Know, leave me a comment. Today's show is brought to you by the shirt I'm wearing, which says, "You can reach for the stars, but you're better off building a rocket." Mr. Rogers freaked a lot of people out, apparently, and not rightly so. He didn't have tattoos, he wasn't an ex-convict, and he was not a military sharpshooter. Side note, Bob Ross was in the Air Force. He wasn't an ex-Navy SEAL. He started doing television in 1951 and started working on his own show in 1963. The SEALs weren't even a thing until 1962. Anyway, he couldn't serve in the military because he was colorblind. His red cardigan in a Smithsonian, that was gray to him. He wasn't gay as a lot of people believed. He got married in 1952 and had 2 sons. One of his sons appeared on the show twice, the second time bringing a grandson. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood ran from 1968 to 2001. It was the longest running children's show until like a year later when Sesame Street beat him out. At the start of every episode, he came through the front door singing, changed from his formal stuff to a cardigan and sneakers, and began what was more like a conversation than a show. He showed us how crayons were made. He showed us that Margaret Hamilton wasn't really a wicked witch. He taught us about death and buried one of his pet fish on air. And he even wrote a song for one kid who was afraid he might go down the drain in a bathtub.
You can never go down, can never go down, can never go down the drain.
Also, he and Bill Nye showed how to spoon white powder into a balloon, but I'm digressing. Fred Rogers was a great piano player and a Presbyterian minister who got into TV because he didn't like what was already on TV. His sweaters, all made by his mom. Supposedly, he responded to every piece of fan mail. He took on government, not only talking them out of cutting public television funding, but getting them to raise it from $9 million to $22 million. Also later, he talked them into letting people record television shows on their VCRs at home. By the way, Sony, not so crazy about Mr. Rogers. He was a fat kid, but not a fat adult. He maintained a weight of 143 pounds for 30 years. He did this because it takes 1 letter to spell I, 4 letters to spell love, and 3 letters to spell you. In fact, his legacy, the Fred Rogers Center that promotes child development, has a membership called the 143 Club. To be a member requires a yearly donation of $143. I know what you're thinking. He wasn't Illuminati, but he was a vegan. Despite his healthy living and diet, Fred Rogers was diagnosed with stomach cancer in December of 2002, had an unsuccessful surgery in January of 2003, and died in February of 2003. Apparently, there's a Fred Rogers biopic in the works right now starring Tom Hanks. I was hoping for Eddie Murphy. On the screen is a link to today's shout-out, Awaken with JP, who doesn't really need a shout-out. I think he's clever. Also, another video YouTube thinks you'll like. If you want to be a superhero like Gma, Lolly, and Jen, click that Patreon icon. We're here 3 days a week. And until next time, stay weird and stay out of the comfort zones.